Good evening. Welcome along. It's Tuesday evening again. Welcome. We're here to talk about things related to children's, youth and families ministry. But before we start, we want to recognise that we live in land that God has created and God has cared for and God has loved. And the land that we meet on Southside has been looked after in the custodianship of the Yagara and the Turrbal people for many, many generations. We pay our respects to the elders, past, present, and those that are emerging, that we may learn from them and walk softly on God's precious land, and that we might have conciliation between us and them. So today, feel free, if I say anything, got any questions, pop it in the comment section. We'll have a conversation about it. But I guess today, started reading new book, The End of Youth Ministry. Sounds like a good book, isn't it? End of Youth Ministry, Why Parents Don't Really Care About Youth Groups and What Youth Workers Should Do About It. So it's one of Andrew Root's newest books. Anyone who's cottoned on to me knows that I like Andrew Root. So it comes out of Luther Seminary in Minnesota, America. His wife is a minister. He does some youth work with them, but big thinker. And is good for writing theological books for youth workers and then transferring that to general ministry. So you get the way it works in a youth worker's idea and then the general minister. So his thesis was relational youth ministry, returning to relational youth ministry, and then he brought out relational pastor, which was, okay, well, how does that apply to the whole church? Because funnily enough, the things that we do in youth ministry often apply to the whole church. So started to read this book, and he starts exploring, well, why is it that we seem to struggle with parents, and what are the priorities for parents these days? And that real sense, and, we see this. Rod, you would see it in things like Boys Brigade. How do we get people to commit to Boys Brigade? Scouts, seeing huge drop-offs in that. Yet we see, sporting clubs seem to be able to get kids in and things like that. So why this difference? Why are we struggling to get commitment, and why are these other groups, flourishing? And he points out that the real focus for parents is about how do we get our children to have a good life? How do we set them up for the good life? And part of it I've heard him talk about before. I haven't seen it yet in this book. Don't know if he's returning to it. Maybe he decided he doesn't like it anymore. But he points to, just over 4 years ago. It's just over 4 years ago. I can remember because it was when Trump was being inaugurated. And we had one person in the group was really happy about that, and the rest of us were commiserating. And Andrew Root wasn't the one that was happy about it, being the only American in the room. But he pointed out that in the past, sociologists sometimes split society or our world into 4 sections that are important: family, religion, economy, society, and government. So for family, how we relate to our families; religion, what it is we believe; economy, what we spend our money on; society, how we have social standing; and government, who rules us and things like that. So he says, back in the past, family was the biggest area. So the real key thing was families. Families lived together, you stayed together, that was really important. Fairly close to families was religion, and I've drawn this so that's probably not quite accurate, but you'll live. So religion was a key part of society. People went to church because that was the thing you did. Then was society, your social standing, and economy and government really weren't terribly important. They were there, but it wasn't about getting the right stuff, having the right things. In the last and for most of us, that's probably what we grew up with. For the church, that's pretty much still where we're at. We see family, religion as the key things. So of course, this is what we're going to do. In the last couple of decades, things have changed where the biggest thing in life is economy. So the most important thing in people's lives is, how do I get stuff? How do I get money? How do I get possessions? Fairly close to that is society. How do I get social status? I thought, looking at this, Rod, that it might be back to front. Sorry. I'll have to practice my writing. And read through. No, you can't. So you need to get I need to get a bigger pen next time that'll write through, and then I will do it. But anyway, society. How do I get status? How do people look up to me? How do I get important? Next probably is government, and family has really shrunk. So we live with the family growing up, and then we move out. And really small is religion. So as people look at this and think about this and think about their children, well, we want to make sure that we get the things they have and they have the social standing that they need. And it's not that we're against religion. It just doesn't play a huge role in what makes a good life. And so if you think about these sense of, well, why sport and not youth group or boys brigade or things like that? It's that sense of, okay, sport, this is something that my child might be really good at. And maybe they'll get their career as a tennis player or as a soccer player or a football player. So we have the choice. Hang on, big game is coming up. And they can go to practice for the big game, or there's the Bible study on. Well, if they miss the practice, they might not get to play in the big game, and that might ruin their future career. So that becomes more important than, well, the Bible study, we'll do that another day. That's all right. Same with musical instruments. How do we promote and, they're going to have these skills to play this wonderful instrument, and they'll become a great universally renowned musician. Woohoo! People in Mars are listening to them. Internationally renowned musician or singer or something like that. And so the priority goes, how do we give them that time? And church will fit that in if there's time, and if not, well, they can deal with that later. So we have this struggle of how do we show that faith is important to the whole of life. Faith is important to what they will live in their lives. Hopefully, like me, you have that sense of, my faith is crucial to me. Where would I be without my faith? And faith is crucial not just for this life, but for the next life. But I suspect that we lost that message as we got stuck into programs and that program-focused and program-centered thinking that we did through the sort of 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Focused all in on, it's about the group, it's about this group dynamics. And the people that went through, they went, well, nice group of people. Might even keep in touch with them growing up, but did it change my life? And does it make my life better into the future? And for many, I guess they're saying, well, no, it doesn't. So is it important on the scale of things for my child to do? Probably not. So as we come to this faith question, we're coming and need to look at it in a different way. And it's that same sense of as we come to evangelism. So as we come to evangelism, when we look at the back to front writing, most of our evangelism comes in this thought where, well, religion is important to you, so I just need to show you that my religion's right. Boom, you're in. If we come from this world, we're coming from a whole different starting point. And so we need to go, well, this is why religion is important in your life. Then I can do this is why my religion, I think, is the right one to go by. But we're starting from a whole different place. We're not starting from, well, you're looking for some religion, so let me just prove that mine's the right one. And this isn't having a go at parents going, oh, you've got your priorities wrong. No. This is just they want the best for their child, and absolutely. Of course that should be their priority. It's about how do we communicate better that, hang on, we actually think faith is crucial. We think faith is important. And yeah, I know I've chatted with a couple of people about, you pick these priorities, but maybe that's us as ministry agents going, well, we've given our lives to this thing. So we obviously think it's pretty dang important. No. We've gone, we'll give up other careers, we won't follow other paths, we'll do this. It says we think it's pretty important, but to the average person, have we helped communicate that to them? I think that's our challenge. And I guess that's, as I started reading that and thinking and reflecting, our goal for our children's, youth and families ministry area is to produce lifelong faith in our young people. And hopefully that starts to communicate that we're producing something that is to help them to have a good life into the future. Now, this is more about than just, hey, we had fun on Sunday Arvo, Thursday Arvo, Friday night, whenever we're meeting. But it's actually about we're producing something that will affect their life and make their life better. And it's that change. So Andrew Root goes on to talk about that as you look at youth ministry in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, was really about, hey, the culture out there and young people are jumping into adult activities. We need to slow that down. We need to, make sure they're not drinking and binge drinking. We need to make sure that they're not having sex before marriage. We need to slow them down, help them, to make wise choices, to help them to take their time. And that's been very much the focus of ministry with young people. But apparently research is showing us that young people actually are slowing down. That things like, first sexual encounters, the age is going up. The age of first drinking alcohol is going up. These things, they actually are slowing down. So if that is the role of youth ministry, then we've lost our job, because it's just naturally happening in society. So it can no longer be, and probably should never have particularly been, all about slowing down young people, just to fit them in our moral and social compass. They're doing that pretty all right. It's not perfect, but they're probably doing it better than my generation were doing it. And so that focus has to move. We're no longer about slowing down kids. So what are we on about? And of course, that's the rest of the book that I haven't got to. So you'll discover more in the next few weeks, I'm sure. But yeah, it's that real sense of how do we change our message? And I guess we're changing a lot of messages. So we've changed that, or trying to change that message of, it's not about faith formation at church or at youth group, but it's about faith formation in the family. It's not about young people over here, children here, adults there, but it's about intergenerational. And it's about, we've got to change that message about youth ministry, children's ministry is about producing something and impacting young people for life. I was just thinking that, all my hands moving. It's really interesting because I've started putting these up on YouTube. So for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll have noticed this. But it's interesting. YouTube will give you sort of 3 clips to use as your thumbnails, and my hands are always doing some sort of action in every clip. So I'll just do some here so that I'll get a nice, funny image for I'll put it on YouTube for my thumbnail. I use my hands a lot, is what I'm saying. You'll be used to that by now, those who regularly watch. But yeah, how do we change that mindset of we're doing something? So how do we instill in the families of Boys Brigade and Girls Brigade that, I think you've got that real benefit of that leadership development. And maybe that's, and outdoor skills. So you've got these wonderful selling points of, we can help your child to be able to enjoy nature, to survive. We can help your child to grow as a leader. They would probably be the two real selling points that I'd be, thinking about it now. And haven't mentioned it before, Rod, because it's unpacking my brain now. This is why I do this on Tuesday nights, because this is when I think through things and decide things. But maybe they're our selling points for Girls Brigade and Boys Brigade. Hey, bring your child along and they can learn these skills and they can learn leadership. Really promote the leadership development goes on, because it seems to be really wonderful. Sending them off to leadership camp, watching the boys and girls as they go through leadership, those that are helping in Unite, those who have helped in One Day Fun Day and Fun in the Sundays, they have this great skill. That's what Boys Brigade and Girls Brigade are giving them. So sell that. Sell that as send your child to this program because it's going to give them something for life. Again, it's, those programs have something. Send them along to youth group. So it's again, how do we sell this faith for life? How do we say, this is actually important, this is going to be important for your child, that they have this faith? Which I guess challenges is, how do we get our parents to be thinking about, why is faith important to them? Why do they go to church? And I guess it's that challenge of, church became, when we got focused on programs, you had your children's ministry that catered just for you. Then you moved into the youth ministry that catered just for you. And then you moved into the young adults ministry that catered just for you. And then you moved into a service that catered just for you. So it was all about you and making you feel good. Maybe we lost the focus on it's all about growing your faith and what you do with your faith and how your faith impacts your life. I could be getting controversial here. That's all right. You'll be used to me doing that. But maybe that's where we need to return to and go, okay, we need to fix up this view of what the church is about. We need to fix up this view of what faith is about. How do we get the adults in our church to go, my faith is crucial to me. My faith is something that I want to put time into. And I think I've talked about it on here before. That sense of maybe we really, set the bar high for what we expect of people in church. Yes, I have talked about it, that sense of what if we had a service and then went into Sunday school and said, we expect you to be at church for 2 hours. And actually said through that, we actually think this is important. We actually think that this makes an impact in your life, that you should commit to it, as opposed to, we'll try and fit it in under an hour. And we'll apologise if we go over an hour. Sorry to busy up your day. What message does that give to our young people? What message does that give to our adults of, we'll try and... Mind you, don't get me wrong, love a short service. 45 minutes Sunday before last when I led. Sure, everyone was happy. I remember, particularly, I'm always big on a short Christmas Day service. I reckon Christmas Day should not go any more than about 45 minutes. If your Christmas Day sermon's gone more than about 7 minutes, you've gone too long. And remember preaching at Scone once, and one lady's come up, thank you for the Christmas Day service. I was really appreciative that it was short. It's like, yes, because we all know you just want to be out of there. You want to go and be with family. I want to go and be with family. Not that it's not important, but it's about, let's recognise, maybe I'm probably, going back on what I've just said anyway. Ignore when I contradict myself. Contradicting myself, that's the word that I was looking for. But yeah, how do we challenge our young people? How do we challenge our parents to see faith as important and crucial in their life? How do we see it as something that forms them and changes them? Which is part of why the lectionary, I think, cycles through the story each year. It's like, how are these events important in our Christian life? But we've tended to, I think, pull back a bit with, particularly in the Protestant world, too afraid of ritual sometimes, too afraid of doing things too many times. So let's scale back. How do we actually grab onto some of that stuff and go, we need to ground this into our lives? So part of that, talking about how do we have these rites of passage which say that God is with us, that God is part of our everyday life, and that this God stuff is important. How do we make faith all of the week long so that I haven't done the Bible reading with Oliver this week again. Send this stuff out on Monday and I don't even do it. How hopeless am I? But how are we helping our families? See, families, if you're going, we struggle this and we forget about it, the youth worker puts it together and he struggles and forgets about it. But how are we saying to our families, this is important. Start the week looking at the passage. Middle of the week, explore the passage. Go deeper. Your kids will go deeper at Jaffa, at brigades, at Sunday school. You'll go deeper at church. How are we going, this actually plays into our whole week. That this is important all week long, not just on Sunday morning. And I think as we do that, then we will see more buy-in. So Andy Roots uses the example of confirmation. How do you convince parents that confirmation is something worth their child's investing their time in? If confirmation class comes on when the sport is, well, they're going to go to the sport. How are we showing this is actually an important step, an important impact into the life? And I guess that challenge of, if parents aren't seeing it as important, it's obviously not important in their life. Might be part of where he heads with the book. Who knows, again, haven't read that far. But yeah, if parents don't see it as important in their life, they're not going to see it important in the kids' life. So we need to be helping parents to see faith as important in their life and parents to see faith as important in their young people's life, to help it to grow, to help it to develop, to help them to say, we're actually going to prioritise this. And we'll prioritise it over the many other activities that happen. And yes, life gets busy. I fully get that. And yes, you want to have priorities. And I'm not in any way trying to have a go at parents and the decisions of the priorities that they make, because they are just trying to do the thing that they think is best for their child. But ultimately, as a believer, I believe that my faith impacts and makes every day better. That as I follow the things that God wants me to do, then as Jesus said, I came that you might have life and have it to the full. And we've got caught up with that we'll have eternal life, and faith is just, and if faith is just about heaven in the future, then it's like, well, I can put off those decisions and the confirmation for later, because we can tick those off. I'll get too old to play soccer. Then I can do the faith stuff, tick all those off, and do that end of life stuff. Do faith then. How does it impact here? But of course, Jesus isn't saying, came that you might have life in heaven. He said, I came that you might have life and have it to the full now. The words he uses around eternal life are actually life to the full, not just life everlasting, but life in its fullness. So our faith is meant to actually bring fullness to our whole life, here on earth as well as heaven in the future, wherever that might be. Sorry, slipping in my theological biases. But how do we make that clear? How do we move from our focus for too long within the evangelical church of faith is all about heaven to faith is about now? Faith is about our life being better. Faith is about when I make the choices that God calls me to. When I love other people, then they love me back and my life gets better. When I do good for others, then I get this sense of worth. I get this sense of value and I grow as a person. That as I live out my faith and make decisions, I actually have a better life. that as I don't get drunk, I actually enjoy and remember the things that I do. As opposed to going, oh man, I woke up and I can't remember what I did last night, but it must have been pretty mad. How do we go, this faith is actually making my life better? Because that's what it should be. Faith should be improving our life. Faith should be making our life wonderful. And as we do that for adults, they'll go, I want my child to have this. So I guess there's my thoughts for this week. We're going to finish early, Rod. Hope you do have Bible study to go to. Otherwise, you'll have to find another show to watch between 7:30 and 8:30. But, yeah, we need to realise that the ballpark has changed. That nothing against parents, but parents are trying to get the best for their child. And we haven't promoted that faith is the best for their child. And maybe you haven't promoted that faith is best for the adults. So how do we change that message? And as we change that message, then we'll become more successful, I think, at finding commitment for our people as they go, hey, I want to be part of this. I want to enjoy this faith stuff. I want my child to have this same faith experience that I have because it makes my life so much better. And so I want to share that with them. I'm starting to ramble. I've rambled for the last half hour. Thank you very much for joining us. Great to be back with you. So last week, I didn't put anything up. Took the night off, showing you that, take times of rest. That's my excuse. Thanks for joining us. Remember, put any comments in the comment box. If you've said anything you think others should hear about, share it with them. Share it on your walls or whatever. And if you've got any questions, anything you'd like to chat about, put it in the comment box. Email me.